I'm anti-gaming. I've been recently coming out about this. Like the temperance advocates in like the, progressive era United States politics, like Carrie Nation going into bars with a hatchet and stuff like that. This is like what I'm going to do to men and their PS5s, like I'm just, yeah. The women's Christian temperance for gaming.
Hey guys, you're listening to another episode of Comics and Chronic. Jake couldn't be here with us today, but this is Cody Cannon, and you're always my co-host Anthony is here. And today we have a special guest, comedian, actress. She's been featured in the New York Times recently on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, has a Comedy Central Presents coming out. Today we got Kate Willett, everybody.
Woo!
Woo! Yeah, so Kate, we just, it's great to see you. We just wrapped up a tour together, a little tour of Appalachia. It was a great time. Do you want to talk about it a little bit at all?
Oh, it was really fun. It's super beautiful. Like, it was amazing. The drives were amazing, like beautiful green mountains, and just met a lot of people. Were really, really, really fun. I had such a good time.
Nice, yeah.
Nice. Where are you from originally, Kate?
I am originally from Southern California, and then I lived in Northern California for a long time as well. And then I moved to New York like 5 years ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm also in New York. Jake, who's not with us today, he's in Cali.
Yeah, Jake, our third member, works for he's a assistant producer for The Bachelor, so
holy moly,
he couldn't get off of work.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So he couldn't make it today, but yeah, we're thrilled to have you. So here at Comics and Chronic, I know you're not a weed person, not that you have anything against weed, but it just makes you anxious.
Yeah. Every once in a while, if I smoke weed, it's like I can kind of, the only thing that is good about it to me is like I will have like all of my anxiety for like the entire month in like one.
It's just mainlining anxiety.
Yeah, the rest of the month, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that happens to everybody. I know my fiance, that's why she doesn't like to smoke. It's just, it gets you. And I mean, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I smoked enough and then I got over the anxiety, but I feel like that's bad advice to give to anybody.
Every once in a while, I have had like an experience where I ingest, some kind of marijuana and felt relaxed. That's maybe happened to me like 3 to 4 times. And I'm like, oh, I see what people like about this, but it's pretty limited. So I don't really want to do it.
For sure. Well, our thing here, we love to get a little stoned, whether the guest does or not, and just talk about the nerdy things that our guests love. So I'm excited to have you on because it's spooky season, and I know you're a big fan of horror movies.
I do love horror movies, yeah. I feel like I'm not like someone that is, like there's people that are like so into horror movies and they're really like obsessed with it and they've seen every single thing, and that's not me. But I do love horror movies, and I have seen a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. You're definitely not a person that's like, horror is my personality. You know what I mean? But yeah, you talked about some of your favorite recent ones being like Midsommar and Hereditary.
I liked both of those movies a lot. Midsommar was like a rough watch for me because I feel like that's like, those are like the type of horror in that movie, like kind of showed me the type of horror inside my own soul. Like I'm someone who like is like prone to like getting potentially involved with psychedelic cults. I've never joined one, but I've flirted with the idea. And like, I always have some kind of shitty boyfriend that doesn't really care about me. And I'm like, oh, no. This is a cautionary tale for me.
I feel like Midsommar was actually perfect at, I think better than any other movie I've seen at showing what it feels like to be tripping. Like the way she was like visualizing things when she looked at everybody, the waviness of everything.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought
what
that
I
was
thought too.
perfect.
I've never seen I've never seen tripping portrayed as accurately as in that movie.
Yeah.
Yes, and now that you're saying psychedelic cults are real, I mean, sign me up. That sounds like a fun time.
Well, yeah, I don't know if there's got to be some existing psychedelic cults, but I don't know any current ones, you know? But
yeah. But you are a big fan of psychedelics, correct?
yeah, I mean, so I don't know, because it's like, I definitely like have a deep appreciation for psychedelics. I don't know if like, I'm trying to think if like fan is like a good word to describe it, because I found it to be like a really useful tool, but like I've also had some like very hard experiences with psychedelics as well. So like, I don't know. It's, to me, they're very useful, but I don't know if it's not always fun, but it can really be. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I love doing them, but I don't, I maybe trip once a year, twice a year if I'm really like, doing a lot. So I feel the same way. Like I see them as a tool. So like when I need to use them, I use them in the right way, hopefully. Try to avoid the bad trips. The first trip I ever had was horrible, but I got something good out of it. So like it's hard to call it a bad trip.
Yeah.
Even like the bad trips.
Yeah, I think that to me, I don't know, because I mean, I have like heard of people having trips that were just like, they just sounded like they were like extremely bad, like there was like nothing that the person really walked away from it with other than like trauma. But like the trips that I've had that have been like hard, like were also things that like showed me some stuff that I benefited from seeing, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like the best trips will show you like almost the things you don't want to acknowledge when you're not tripping, and like that's what you need to like confront somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. But it also can be like really fun too. I mean, I think with psychedelics, everyone always talks about, set and setting, and that cannot be underestimated. Like, I mean, if I take something, it's usually like in the woods with a small group of friends that I really trust. And I definitely wouldn't just like do it in my room.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Anytime I do it inside, I get really introspective, and not always in like the most fun way. I just kind of like melt into wherever I'm located and just like stare at the ceiling, and I'm like, this is kind of a nightmare. But outside, it's usually like a beautiful, like, I don't know, it's just a totally different environment.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, so outside, I feel like is very, like, it's easy to sort of like get really drawn into like how beautiful nature is. And then, there's definitely like trips where it's more sort of like, just kind of laying quietly and like sort of really, being like inside your own mind. And like that stuff scares me a lot more. But like the times that I have like done that, it's also been really useful.
Nice.
Yeah, see, I feel like I'm a weirdo. I love tripping inside. Like I like the option of going outside, but like I don't know, like where I was living in the Bronx or just like New York City, like there's not much outside like that's really it doesn't feel like nature. So like it's like I might as well stay inside.
Yeah, I live right by Prospect Park, and I've tripped in Prospect Park a few times. I don't know if I need to trip anytime soon, because tripped a few times during the pandemic, and like I think the last time I tripped, it was like a little bit like, I don't trip a lot or anything like that, but last time I tripped, it was like kind of like, okay, you know what to do, like you have to actually, like, you don't need to like see anything more about like stuff that like could change. You actually have to go make these changes in your life, and there's nothing else.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I totally get that. Then when it feels that way, then it's like, okay, maybe I don't need to do this. Like now I just wasted like 8 to 10 hours of just feeling this way. I get the lesson, but I'm not doing anything with it yet. So now I'm just going to sit here and wait for this day.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I think the usefulness of psychedelics like diminishes like if you do them a lot. So I like to kind of make it something that is like sort of special, you know?
For sure. For sure. Yeah. No tripping just because it's a Tuesday for this guy.
Yeah.
So you've been, since the tour ended, I know you've been hitting the ground running with a bunch of shows in New York, and you got a festival you're going to be at in Atlanta. Any shows in particular you're excited about or want to talk about?
I'm really excited about Red Clay, and I don't know when this is coming out, but I'm very stoked to come back to Denver this weekend. I'm going to be at the Denver Comedy Underground, and I love performing in Denver, so I'm really looking forward to that. I also have some dates coming up in Texas that are going to be really fun, and Minneapolis, and I don't know. I'm trying to think. Minneapolis, Seattle. I'm going to be at the Ballard Comedy Club at the beginning of December, and that is going to be very fun. So yeah,
nice. I've never been to Denver, but I hear it's a big comedy city. Like comedy is like the scene there is huge, and the community really like comes out and supports.
Yeah, it's super fun. Yeah.
Nice. Love to hear it. Well, we were on tour. We had a downtime and we decided to use some of that downtime to watch Shang-Chi.
Oh yeah.
Being a comedy or a comic book podcast, is there anything you want to say about that? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Was it just there for you?
I mean, like, so I'm not like a huge comic book movie person. Like, people sometimes get me to go see comic book movies, and by people I mean heterosexual cisgender men. People, if we want to call them that, will get me to see comic book films, and I generally always have a good time. You know, there's like a lot of like fighting, and then there's like dumb jokes, you know, and it's entertaining to me, but like whatever dude I'm seeing it with like always ends up having like a thing of like, they didn't do a good job with this one part because they're like invested, but I'm not invested. I'm just like to me, all movies that are like that, like they're just sort of like, yeah, I mean, like people jump in the air and they're spinning around and kicking each other. Like,
that about sums it up. So you weren't put off like Cody with all the BMW product placement?
I don't even know if I would recognize BMW. Like, I don't really make distinctions between types of cars other than on the basis of color. You know, you know.
So, like, what are your comedy influences, whether like movies, TV, or stand-up in general?
Trying to think of like movies that I don't know. I mean, I can tell you stuff I like, but I don't know about stuff that I feel like influenced by. Like, I mean, I feel like a lot of the comedians that I really like, I'm not similar to them in any way. Like Maria Bamford's like an amazing comedian, but there's no one who is really like Maria Bamford, you know?
Yeah,
I really, I mean, Margaret Cho was a hero of mine. I got to go on tour with her for a while, and she was, she definitely was an influence to me growing up for sure. So yeah, but I mean, she's also, you know, amazing, one of a kind. I like Tig Notaro a lot. She's awesome.
Hell yeah.
You know, Aparna Nancherla and Joe Firestone are incredible comedians, but I'm not similar to them. So I don't know. This is just a list of like stuff that I like a lot, I guess.
Nice.
No, that's awesome. I mean, was there like any like impetus to make you be like, oh, I need to be a stand-up comedian? Like I have something to say and this is the way to do it.
Yeah. So for me, it was a lot about like, I was going through this time where I was really miserable. I was in grad school and I really, really, really hated grad school. And so I was kind of looking for some stuff to do that was like going to add some fun to my life. So I started like experimenting with stand-up, going to some open mics, and I ended up having a really good experience. And I was still doing a lot of theater. That's what I was in grad school for. But then I started getting paid for stand up, and it was like, wait a minute, like I like this a lot more. Like I've already made more money in my first like 6 months of stand up than I've made in the whole time of doing theater. But I mean, but that's like, it was like $300, you know, like it's not, you know, and I just really like creating my own material, and it was possible to like sign up and do all the time. So I had, you know, I just started doing it a lot, and that was about like 10 years ago, I guess. So yeah, I've never really looked back.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, when I tried to do stand up, that it was, I just was like, I'm done with school. Like this is the way to go. I wasn't making any money. Like it was just like for fun, but like, yeah, it's like, you know, it was like the uncomfortableness, or just like, I don't know, like something about life, just like you got to get on stage and just like, I don't know, do your thing.
Yeah, it's really great to be able to like write your own jokes, you know, because like in theater, it's like sometimes you like the play and sometimes you're like, nah, I don't really love this that much, you know. I think one of the last plays, no, it wasn't one of the last plays I did, but it was a play I did probably a year or so before I started stand up. And it was this like super experimental play where we were like already in tech rehearsal, which like for folks who haven't done theater, that's like the last week where they just figure out like the lighting and the sound and just like all the kind of technical aspects. And like, you know, then maybe you'll do like a couple runs of the show, you know, full dress rehearsals or whatever. But mostly tech week is about like getting the tech shit down. So we had rehearsed the whole play. It was a Greek tragedy that was rewritten in contemporary language, and it was supposed to be about colonialism, but this theater company, like, you know, I mean, it was very not diverse, which is fucked up, but also, you know, like that is kind of a problem in theater in general, because, you know, like a lot of people who can afford to make $300 or whatever for like several years of work, like are from, you know, privileged backgrounds, or at least you have some kind of safety net, right? So already this play was like just pretty fucked up. But we were in Tech Week. It's a Greek tragedy. The director decides, what if we redo this whole thing as like an interpretive dance with a parachute? So he gets a giant parachute, ties us all to the parachute, and we're supposed to like move our arms around in like a waving fashion that like expresses that thing. And I'm like, this is so fucking funny. It is really funny. But the problem is like, it wasn't supposed to be funny. Like he didn't know it was funny. And I wanted to be like, it was just a lot of theater that I was in like was hilarious, but it was just not, like no one wanted to acknowledge how funny it was, you know? So
Nice. So theater, and so those are your comedy influences, some of your favorites. Do you have any like like who are like the younger generation of comics coming up? Do you have any that you love or you want to shout out?
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so many people that come to mind all of a sudden. I mean, there's a comedian in New York named Brittany Carney who's super funny. Kenise Mobley is really, really funny. She's doing stuff. I mean, Janelle James is like incredibly funny, but she's already like pretty famous. A guy named Casey James Salengo is super funny. Those are just the people that are coming to my mind right now. But
nice.
You know, it's there's many. Yeah.
Nice. And how so you have a podcast for any listeners that don't know, you have a podcast, Reply Guys. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, Reply Guys is a leftist feminist comedy podcast. So mostly we interview like journalists and people who are running for office and just people who are, you know, leftist candidates. Mostly I think don't take any corporate donations, all sort of like individual donors. We also interview journalists. Like we've had Ken Klippenstein from the internet. The Intercept.
Oh, very nice.
From the internet. From the Intercept's on a lot. You know, we just had Patrick Radden Keefe. He wrote a book about the opioid epidemic and specifically like the fucking criminal enterprise that is the Sackler family. And yeah, I mean, it's just, we try to have a podcast that is like, it's about politics, but it's, accessible, I think, because like Julia and I are comedians. We're not like political experts or anything like that, but a lot of the people that we have on do know stuff. So
nice.
So you do take like a comedic stance with anything political that you talk about?
I feel like a lot of this, I mean, it's like a mix because we've definitely had people on who are talking about stuff that is like very serious too, who like really, know what they're saying. But like Julia's my co-host, Julia Claire. We also like make fun of a lot of like dumb internet shit, like specifically like men who are being just wacko on the internet. Elon Musk is a repeated thing.
Oh yeah.
We gotta definitely also trying to think of various reply guys that we've featured. I mean, Ben Shapiro, Short King. Consistent. Yeah.
I saw a video of Elon Musk the other day, and someone like asked him about his daughter, and he was like, "What?" And they're like, they repeat her name that I can't repeat. He's like, "Oh yeah, her." Like God. He couldn't even pronounce it. Like, what the fuck?
That is nuts. Elon Musk is he's so disgusting,
Yeah.
Grimes is a complete idiot. Hold on, I gotta find this. Let me read you this thing. So did you guys see Grimes reading the Communist Manifesto?
Yes.
Okay, so that part was funny, but here's like what she said about it on Instagram, and some of this is normal, but then it gets really funny. Okay, so here's Grimes' post. I was really stressed when paparazzi wouldn't stop following me this week, but then I realized it was an opportunity to troll. I swear this headline, what the fuck, I'm dead. And I think the headline was Grimes reading the Communist Manifesto or something. But here's the funny part. Full disclosure, I'm still living with E, and I am not a communist, although there are some very smart ideas in this book. But personally, I'm more interested in a radical, decentralized UBI that I think could potentially be achieved through crypto and gaming. What? I haven't ironed out that idea enough to explain it. Regardless, my opinions on politics are difficult to describe because the political systems that inspire me have mostly not yet been implemented. I mean,
what?
UBI and gaming, like that's so. I mean, it seems like her and like I first was like. When they first got together, I was like, oh my God, like she's clearly dating him for money because he's so odious as a human being that like it's difficult to imagine someone wanting to spend time with him just because he was amazing person or whatever. But it seems like Grimes and Elon Musk may have had like an emotional, spiritual connection,
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't believe just a UBI through gaming.
I know, it's the worst. The worst thing ever.
Like, what does that even mean? Like Nintendo, like points, like you like get like coins in the game. It's like, okay, this is how.
Means, yeah.
Well, in that case, nice. I'm for it. Let's go, Grimes.
I'm anti-gaming. I've been recently coming out about this. Like the temperance advocates in like the, progressive era United States politics, like Carrie Nation going into bars with a hatchet and stuff like that. This is like what I'm going to do to men and their PS5s, like I'm just, yeah. The Women's Christian Temperance for Gaming Union. Gaming has been.
I love it.
Gaming has been like just like with prohibition. A lot of people. I mean, obviously, prohibition's a bad idea, and it didn't work. All we got out of it is years and years and years of organized crime.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason that prohibition like took off in the first place, a lot of it had to do with the fact that. Like men were getting drunk and abusing their wives. So it was very much seen as a feminist issue. to support prohibition. And,
Nice.
with regard to gaming, I'm not going to say that it has enabled abuse, but there's certainly been a lot of ignoring of girlfriends that's gone on. And I feel that this is a feminist issue of our time.
I like this take. I like it.
I love that stance. Yeah, I'm kind of an anti-gamer myself. One of my old roommates was really into gaming.
I thought you were into gaming.
No.
You're not into gaming at
all?
I
don't game. I mean, like, I'll play Smash Bros. With my homies every once in a while, but other than that, I don't play games at all.
Damn. We love a man who doesn't game. We stand.
Yeah, I just don't have time for it, and I don't care. It's too also I don't like the way that they've kind of made it. So now they don't even release complete games. You have to keep downloading parts and additions and constantly funneling money into it, and it's just no thanks.
Holy shit! I had no idea.
You just can't figure out the buttons, Cody. Admit it.
I'm also terrible at gaming. So there's that. Yeah. I just played Mario Kart with a friend recently and was thrilled to get 4th place. So
nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I like games, but I wouldn't consider myself like a gamer. I don't play them every day or even every week, but I feel like there's a game for everyone. If someone has those, have you ever played the Jackbox games?
I did play that recently, and it was I felt I felt very cucked because the people who I was playing it with, some of them were not even stand-up comedians, and they were so much funnier than me. I used to love Tetris. I was, when back in the 90s when I was playing that, and I really like that game. I mean, it's such a weird, kind of basic, Soviet game, But
what Tetris? Game? Sorry, what game?
Tetris.
Oh, Tetris! Yeah, Tetris is the best.
Yeah. I always get upset with when. Actually, I'm not going to go off on this tangent. It doesn't matter. I was just going to talk about how my coworkers, when they don't stack dishes properly, I'm like, you guys obviously never played Tetris, but but yeah, Tetris was great. And I love the old Nintendo games, the ones I grew up on, but it's just too much of an investment now for me to even, and to it, I just don't care.
Yeah, it's, I feel like video games now, because I mean, I played, I remember playing Sonic the Hedgehog and stuff, and in one of the early versions of Super Mario Brothers. But now it's just it's this thing that feels so full on. How could I even start gaming at this point? I'm not going to, but no entry point,
Yeah, I don't want to keep talking about gaming too much, but I will say in defense of gaming that there's definitely a lot of games, especially newer indie games, not games made by the big guys like Nintendo or maybe sometimes them, but games that are just made for casual gamers. Those are definitely the games I've started to gravitate more towards. There's a game I play where you're an intern at this it's very 80s-esque looking game, and you're an intern and they keep sending you into this dungeon to fight monsters, and then you die. Every time you die, you come back and they're like, oh, you didn't kill enough monsters, we're not going to pay you to do this. The story of the game is just funny that you're an intern and you have to do that. But it's a very easy pick up and play, play it for a couple minutes, I'm done, it's not you press one button, that's
it. That makes sense.
Yeah. Nice. Well, now that we're over gaming.
So, what do you specifically would say that you like to geek out over, if you could call it that?
Man, I don't know. It's people, you will ask me that stuff, but I mean, I don't have any super nerdy hobbies or whatever.
I mean, I don't even mean nerdy. What do you like? I feel yeah, maybe that's why I say maybe the word geek is wrong. Do you have some obviously comedy? You like comedy, but I wouldn't say
Okay, I know Kate had bought while we were on tour, bought a book. You're a avid reader, aren't you?
I like reading a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, I like literature. I like poems. I guess I like to geek out over poetry. That's pretty geeky.
Nice.
I guess it's one way. Yeah, I like music a lot. But that's not really like super original or anything like that. Like everyone likes music.
I go off on that tangent. I do want to bring up the fact that you shared with me and some of your fans, but you are Kate has opened for Jawbreaker before and is opening for them again on their next tour. Yeah, that's super cool. Do you know Jawbreaker, Anthony?
I feel like I should. I don't. Are they a punk band?
Yeah, they're like a 90s punk band.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I feel like I heard of them, but
but yeah, that's exciting. And so we listened to on the tour. A lot of our road trip was we listened to a lot of like Punk, Against Me, Jawbreaker. But you're being a music fan. You're also really into folk. What was the gentleman that you sent me?
Oh, Sean Hayes. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah,
he's like a Bay Area musician, and he's really, really, really awesome. I've seen him live a bunch of times, and he's really great. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that people check him out. He's not the same Sean Hayes that is like the musical theater actor. So
yeah, I'm like the guy from Will and Grace.
not that same guy, although that guy also rules, but totally different.
Yeah. Well, do you have any other do you have any say you plug your shows, do you have any things that you're working on that you want people to be looking out for? Oh, you just taped a Comedy Central.
Yeah, so I don't know when this comes out, but the set will be out December 7th, so I'm really stoked about that. Yeah. But other nerdy things, I like history a lot. I really like to read history books. I know you were a history major too, Cody, right?
Yeah. Specifically, Appalachian history is my focus.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I just loved hearing about the region. And as you learned when we were talking on the road, it's like a very historically, we were very, I'm trying to find the right words to put this, but very taken advantage of and capitalized on by corporations and the government, and the people of Appalachia saw very little of that, of all of the resources that were, harvested from the area. And it's just really interesting, in my opinion. I feel like Appalachia is a story of underdogs, which is something that everyone loves,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is there a specific period of history that you like to look up or read about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have definitely read more kind of 20th century stuff recently. I mean, I like all kinds of things. There's not there's not a specific period that I feel like I am only interested in, but I have been reading a lot of stuff about CIA shit lately. That's very exciting. Nice. I don't know if it's fun, but it's interesting. Yeah.
Dark, I'm sure.
Yeah. I like podcasts, also like you were talking about, psychedelic stuff. I did get into learning about the Manson family for a period of time, and just cults in general are pretty fascinating to me. So yeah, I don't know, but I feel like all my super nerdy stuff is also pretty mainstream. So my interests are hiking, music, dinner parties, stuff that literally everyone likes. I think because I'm pretty extroverted, I don't I feel like whenever someone has really fascinating, unique hobbies, it's usually there's an introverted element to that person a lot of the time.
Yeah, I could agree with that. But I also feel like that, I mean, our podcast is talking about comic books and comic book movies, how basic can you get, Yeah. The only difference is that
for white guys, you can't get any more basic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely. But I mean, comic book movies are they're very popular. People like them a lot. What should I watch? If I want to check out some kind of all-time good comic book movies, any that you would recommend?
Honestly, so I'm going to recommend, We just did a big segment. I think you would like it a lot. It's not a movie, but it's about to be a Netflix show. I can't speak on how the quality is, but like, no, having gotten to know you while we were on tour, I think you'd be a huge fan of The Sandman.
Okay.
It's written by Neil Gaiman, so it's like very poetic, very like it touches like he does a good job of weaving like mythology and literature and history and all of this stuff into this like huge sprawling epic tale. It's a great comic book series. And like I think like having heard some of your tastes and gotten to know you, I think it's something you would definitely appreciate.
Okay, that's awesome.
And he's like an incredible writer.
That's awesome.
So.
I think he used to live in Brooklyn, and because he's married to Amanda Palmer, I think they lived right around where I live, actually. Like,
oh wow,
by Prospect Park. Yeah,
that one's a good one. The HBO Watchmen TV show is really good.
Is that the one that is? That's not the one with Elizabeth Olsen that everyone is into, right?
No, that's WandaVision.
Is that the same? Is that same set of characters?
No.
Yeah, like I feel like the MCU shows are not. I mean, they're kind of accessible, but they all have so much backstory, like from the movies at least. So it's like you're not necessarily jumping in. Like you saw Shang-Chi, like that is gonna be like the least tied down to anything until like the end of it, I guess.
Is that because Shang-Chi is like a newer story?
Yeah, well, it's just the newest movie, but also it's just like a character that just they haven't used yet, you know? Like
he's not very well known. Yeah. They kind of like retconned his character recently to get rid of racist backstories and stuff, and you know, so Shang-Chi was like the least tied to them. Like it still had its ties, but it wasn't like it was kind of you didn't have to know everything to watch it.
Yeah, it could be your literally first MCU movie and it would be fine.
That makes sense.
But like in terms of other things to like just pick up, I mean, I feel like we always say this, and this is also going to be like the white straight guy like number one movie, The Dark Knight. Like we always say The Dark Knight, but it's great. It's a great comic book movie, and like in general, like, you know, it's Batman, it's Joker, but the story is cool. How like one's for chaos, one's for order, and how that, you know.
I do feel like I kind of like of any of the like sort of characters, comic book characters that I know like a little bit about. Like I feel like I'm like vaguely aware of what's going on with Batman and stuff.
Yeah, Batman's great. Yeah. Other than the fact that like
he's a cop.
I mean, I love.
Yeah, exactly.
Batman's a cop. He's a fascist.
I mean, I like the Batman villains though. Like I understand why everyone was getting into the Joker, because as a woman who has watched multiple men, as they say, proverbially become the Joker, this character really resonates with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I didn't like that movie, like just for those
Joker.
Yeah, just for like those reasons, like people that like, I don't know, like you really liked it, but I know there's a lot of people that liked it that really like took to that. Like, that's me, I'm the Joker. Like, you don't want to be the Joker. Stop.
No,
I don't want to be the Joker. It's not fun in games until someone becomes the Joker.
But that's why I like, you know, I always say The Dark Knight too, because Heath Ledger, he's just an amazing actor. Like him playing the Joker is like, that's all you could remember from that movie.
Okay,
it's like
I'll watch that one then. That sounds good.
Yeah, that one was good.
And then I know me and Cody really like, and maybe you don't really need backstory for this, but Logan was a very, very good superhero.
What's that one about?
Yeah, it's like, so it takes place like 25 years in the future, and basically like most of the superheroes have kind of like died off, except for like Wolverine, and it's basically like about it's kind of like he's trying to like, I don't know, he has to like protect somebody on a mission, and without giving too much away, but it's just like real Hugh Jackman, it was his last time playing Wolverine, and he does a really good job, and it just like was really beautiful. X-Men, like growing up, was my favorite comic book. Like as a kid, I would go to the comic book shop every Friday and get an X-Men comic. And it was just like, so for me, it was just like a very great ending, but it's also like, it's not very comic booky in nature. Like it's not going to have, I mean, it's definitely there's still superheroes and great action segments and stuff like that, but it's much darker and like a little less. It doesn't like have all of there's humor in it, but it's nothing like the Marvel movies that, like, for instance, Shang-Chi.
Yeah. It definitely feels like a Western too.
Okay, so there's like Marvel, and then there's what's the other one that people talk about?
DC.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say to because those are the big ones. Like, we also talked about this. Netflix has a great show. This, I guess it's technically a DC comic, but it's like, consider it like independent, separate. Sweet Tooth. I think that was a show we really liked, and that has no, from the first episode, you're getting everything you need. There's no backstory involved.
Yeah, you would actually. Sweet Tooth is really good. It's like a sweet, like really wholesome. I don't know. That's a good recommendation,
right? Yeah, like it's just like it's really cool. It's just like a world, like, unless you really are like against watching anything that might reference any pandemic, like it's very much like that kind of world where they're dealing with a disease that like kills newborns or makes them into or anybody really, but every baby born is like an animal hybrid.
Oh my God.
And so you're following like this one kid who's like half deer basically, but it's a cute little kid. He just has like antlers, and he's just trying to find his mom, at least in the first season. So he's just like traveling through this world with big man, just like this big dude that's helping him. But it's really wholesome and like really like
great story.
Yeah.
Other than the villain, I think we all agreed we hated the villain.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's so like, I'm a movie, like any, random movie or TV villain with facial hair or something. He's just like, I will kill you.
But yeah, that's a good recommendation. So those would probably be The Dark Knight, Logan. If you're reading it, Sandman, for sure. It's so beautiful. We just finished it this week, and it was like one of the best things I've ever read.
Okay, I'll definitely check that out. That sounds great.
Yeah, my brain is farting.
All right, guys. Well, it was super nice to hang out with you, and thanks for all the movie recommendations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this was a great time. Thank you so much for being it's always a blast, and I'm sure I'll be, our paths will cross sometime soon.
Hi, you're listening to Comics and Chronic, and I'm Jake F.H.
I'm Cody Cannon.
And I'm Anthony Iannaccio.
And you can tune in every Thursday to hear new episodes of Comics and Chronic.
And make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Comics and Chronic. That's comics, the letter N, Chronic.
We'll see you guys next week.
Woo!
Peace.